You're listening to Gospel Theory, a Called to Learn audio podcast. For more information about Called to Learn, visit calledtolearn.com. That's calledtolearn.com. Thank you for listening.
Hey, welcome to Gospel Theory, where we find truth of Jesus Christ in amidst the rumors, the myths, and those incorrect definitions. So today's definitions are doctrines, principles, and applications, and what the heck is the difference, and what are they?
Yep.
Do you know what they are?
Well, I do.
You better.
You've
As
taught
my son,
them for me
you
for
had
4 years
better
now.
know.
So.
Yes. All right. I'm Trustin Neal, and this is my son, Isaac Neal, and I've been homeschooling for the last 20 years, learning and loving learning and teaching online schools, etc. I have an equivalent of a doctorate's degree in religion classes and institute classes that I've been taking over the last 40 years. So let's get started with doctrines, principles, and applications. Let's test your knowledge.
Okay.
What's the difference?
Doctrine is a set of, they are the like a doctrine would be, Christ is, they're just the main things that we need to know, and the main foundational doctrines of the church.
Do they change?
No, they're never changing.
Okay.
They're always the same.
Okay, good.
God is...
there's a God.
There is a God.
That's a doctrine.
And God and His Son and the Holy Ghost.
Yep, that's a doctrine.
Those are doctrines.
So, first article of faith is all doctrine.
Yes, it is.
Good job. Okay. What's a principle?
Principle is the meaning behind a doctrine. Right?
Meaning, it would be like the what to do.
Okay.
Like what to do about God. There's a God. Okay, great. Now what?
Okay.
Right.
So the why behind each doctrine, you could say that?
No, I would put it like Elder Bednar does. A doctrine is that answers the question why. Doctrines answer the question why. Principles answer the question what to do.
Okay.
And applications then answer the question how to do it.
How to do it. Okay.
How to do it.
And
so do principles change?
Not really. I don't think so.
Never. They are solid.
Yeah.
They're in stone.
But I do know that applications can change.
Yes.
Because they are individually based.
Yes, there you go.
Because you determine what your applications are in order to follow the doctrines and principles of the church.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, good.
Awesome. All right, so let's give some examples.
Test.
You passed the test. Woo, way to go. All right, so let's give some examples. Let's use a commandment, okay? Thou shalt not kill. Doctrine, principle, or application?
Geez. I don't know. Thou shalt not kill. You said answers the question what, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know why and then what. So
why, what, and how.
So I would say it would be a principle.
Very good.
Okay, good.
Very good.
100% so far.
Pass it times 2. Okay. So then here we are sitting at the principle level. What would be the doctrine behind thou shalt not kill?
Life is sacred.
There you go. Perfectly said. Yeah. God says that life is sacred. That is the doctrine. And we can put 100 principles underneath that doctrine, right?
Yeah.
That means no adultery, right? That would fit under that same doctrine. Coveting what your neighbor has, that would fit under the thing.
Being pro-life.
Yeah. Or exercising your body, right?
Yeah.
All of those things would fit
things.
under that doctrine. So here's a really big understanding, helping us understand this, is that doctrines, there are few of them. Principles, hundreds and thousands.
Okay.
Okay? And that's the difference. They're just small packages of doctrines. Doctrines are set in stone. In fact, if you want to go to and find out the doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ, go to churchofjesuschrist.org under Basic Doctrines, and it'll give you 9 basic doctrines and some sub-doctrines under those.
There's only 9?
There's only 9 that are written in that section. But think about this: there's going to be a whole bunch of them under each one. For example, let's just go to one of them. We've got the priesthood, prophets, and revelation is one of the doctrines. Okay. Then you've got all of the ways how a prophet receives revelation, how we receive revelation, for who do we receive it, that kind of thing. Under the dispensations of apostasy and restoration, we have the apostasy and the restoration, what that things. Do you see what I mean? There's a whole bunch of sub things that go into there. So there's probably, 20 to 30.
But still, that's not very much.
No, there's not very many
versus
doctrines.
All of the, all of the other principles inside the Book of Mormon and then inside the Scriptures. There's tons of them. Exactly. Isaiah's full of principles. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, exactly. All right, so let's go back to our commandment, thou shalt not kill. We understand that that's the principle, what to do, right? Don't kill. We know not to kill. We know that the doctrine that it hangs from is life is sacred. So what could be, now there's many more applications than there are even principles, okay? Yeah. What could be an application to thou shalt not kill?
Well, there could be lots of them, right?
Yes.
That's the point.
That's right.
One of them could be, don't desensitize yourself by playing violent video games or watching violent movies. Stop desensitizing yourself from death.
Great.
That could be one of them.
Okay, that's one of them. Now let's take it to a scenario, okay?
Okay.
Let's have some fun. All right, so we're going to take this and say, okay, you have now made it a rule not to watch violent movies.
Okay.
And desensitize your mind to death.
Yes.
But your neighbor hasn't made that choice, and he's watching them on a daily basis.
Well, he's wrong, obviously. He's watching church on Sunday, and it's violent and rated R.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Exactly. So can you see where judgment of each other comes in strongly when we're talking about application?
Yeah, big time.
Okay? When you start saying that your application is the doctrine, then you're going to start judging everybody else that's not playing by your rules.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just wrong. We can judge our choices and what we do by the doctrines and the principles.
Yes.
But our applications are going to constantly change. And everybody's applications are going to constantly change.
And they should.
So there's a story that I heard about. President Bednar was going through a bunch of stakes in the world. And every time he decided, I was going to ask them one question, and that was, does your stake focus on principles of the church, or do they focus on applications?
I'd say most stakes probably focus on application, but I don't know about his
It was
stake.
99%.
Of all of the church?
Of all the ones he attended that year.
Which that's got to be a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
Only 1% of the, so if he visited 100
one person
only
said
one.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Only one.
Yeah. So think about that. What do we, as stakes of Zion, the smallest unit of the church, focuses on? Say your prayers.
Read your scriptures.
Go to church. Read the scriptures is our theme this year in our stake, right? It's all on the applications. Why not the principles?
I don't know, because there's still a lot to focus on with the principles. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to focus on a doctrine. But by focusing on the principle...
application, you mean? Well, like they're focusing on the application of reading the scriptures.
Well, it's not like there's... Maybe they want to sound hip or like, up to date or new and exciting, but there's so many other principles that you could apply to that too.
Yeah, but that's an application. My point is that's the application. They're focusing on an application.
Oh, okay.
What is the application to reading your scriptures? I mean, yeah, we should read our scriptures. Yes, that's the answer to every question in this.
Yeah.
In the
primary answer.
The primary answer to every question in the gospel, right? So, what's the principle behind behind reading your scriptures? Because reading your scriptures is not a principle. It's an application. So what's the principle that that application can hang on?
Well, I don't know. Other than reading wholesome things can bring you closer to Christ.
Again, an application.
Yep, it is.
Mm-hmm. How about this? Receiving revelation can be found in the scriptures. One way to receive revelation is through the scriptures.
Okay.
So, do we want to all seek revelation? Is that one of our principles of our gospel? Is that a doctrine of our gospel?
Definitely a doctrine right there.
It
Prophets
is.
and revelation.
Yeah.
And that includes personal revelation in there as
exactly.
well.
So, let's focus on the receiving of the revelation through the scriptures instead of saying read your scriptures.
Yeah, that's
See the
better.
difference?
Oh, that's much better.
It's a huge
It answers
difference.
the question why we do the things in the church.
Why and what to do,
Yeah.
right? But it doesn't tell you how. Because in the scriptures, it only says to read your scriptures one time. And it's in a bad connotation.
Really?
It says to study and to search the scriptures. It never says to read.
Interesting. So, well, a lot of applications aren't really in the scriptures.
No.
I mean, some of
They
them
focus
are.
that's why they were written. They were written to teach us principles, not written to tell us how to do things.
Right.
Right? And
Yeah,
that's
totally
why we
makes
turn to
sense.
the scriptures. Right. Okay.
So we talked about articles of faith.
Okay. You want to go there?
Are they
Okay.
doctrines, principles, or applications?
Yes.
Because the first. Wait, yes. Didn't know they were all of them.
Hey, think about it. The first article of faith, all the Godhead. It's doctrine, principle, or
Yeah.
application.
Second one.
No, it's doctrine.
Yeah,
It's a doctrine.
that one's definitely
okay?
doctrine.
Number 2 talks about the fall. Definitely doctrine.
Yep.
The fall
it
of
is.
Adam. It
Okay,
has to happen.
yeah. It follows the plan of salvation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would.
Number 3 is all about the atonement. Is the atonement doctrines, principles, or application?
Atonement. Well, that would definitely be a doctrine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely
the why
doctrine.
we do everything. Yep.
Right, absolutely. Okay, now we get to number 4. Number 4 is about all of the preparatory gospel of
Yeah.
faith, repentance, baptism.
All the things that you have to do in order to enter the
It's a
kingdom
doctrine,
of God.
principle, or application.
Doctrine.
The preparatory gospel is doctrine.
Okay, but it's still application,
Answer-
right?
No,
Because you're
not
doing certain things.
It's what to do. It's not how to do it.
Oh, okay, so ordinance are what to do,
hmm
not how to do it.
Well, it also says baptism by immersion for the remission of sins, so it does give you the how in there, right?
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's a principle and an application.
Awesome.
Okay.
So that's why we should definitely study those.
Uh-huh.
Because it
So
gives
number
you a
5.
really
Number
good
5 is all
example.
about the priesthood. Laying on of hands by those who are in authority. Doctrines, principle, or application.
It's all of them.
It's
right?
doctrine.
It's just doctrine.
It's just doctrine.
Because isn't the ordinance? He's talking about the ordinance as well, though, right? So that would be a principle.
Well, no, it's actually just talking about the priesthood and how to receive the priesthood, and the priesthood is a doctrine.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's right there.
Yeah.
Then one of the
Yeah, one of the ones. The 6th one is about the organization of the church and how to organize the church, and that's definitely a doctrine.
Yep.
Okay, and you can see that in LDS churchofjesuschrist.org too. The number 7 is all about the gifts of God, gifts given to us.
It's mostly doctrine, then, right?
It's mostly doctrine. Okay.
Well, we do study that a lot in the church, so
Yeah. Well,
at least
true.
at
That's true.
least we're focused.
Yeah, and it's mostly doctrines and principles. So yes,
Okay.
those, and that's why Joseph Smith wrote them, right? He wrote them because someone asked them, "Can you give me a basic understanding of what your church is about?" So he wrote down the doctrines and the principles
Makes
of the
sense.
church. He didn't say, well, we don't smoke and we don't drink and we don't, he didn't do that.
Yeah, what? It always leads back to that, doesn't it? Like, it's so
we
small.
don't practice polygamy and we don't,
Right, like that's just
we read our scriptures every day. It doesn't anything.
And let me ask you this, and this will be my final question. If the prophet were to say that drinking was now permitted in the church, would that still follow under the God's gospel and principle?
The prophet says that it becomes doctrine. Is that kind of your question?
Yeah, like is it? And I think we're going to be discussing that in the next one about commandments, which will be an interesting topic. But I'm asking, if he were to come out and say that, would he still be for Christ? Like, would the church all just sudden fall apart? Would that not be?
Well, okay, you're going to go there. Talk about caffeine.
Right.
Okay. We as a church said no caffeine because it's so addicting, so therefore it doesn't follow the word of wisdom. Is the word of wisdom doctrine, principle, or application?
Definitely application.
It's definitely application. There is a principle in there, and it's in the first few verses.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is an application. Okay? It's an application. So when I don't know who we are, but we as a church said no caffeine, and then all of a sudden BYU puts caffeine on their campus again.
Yeah.
Through a fit, right?
But
Everybody's like,
to do
whoa,
with doctrine,
wait a
right?
minute. Yeah, it has nothing to do with doctrine.
It's so funny that everyone throws a fit over application.
Yeah, because we start judging. If we are judging on the application, then we should be judging people on the doctrines and the principles and living those, judging ourselves on those, not each other on the applications. And maybe that's our call to action there, is don't judge. We've got to stop focusing that the applications are what our church is about, and the applications
we are driving
people
away from our church by doing so.
Yes.
Because
so
we
focus
make it
then
church.
On the doctrine. There's a great word, and it's orthodoxy, right? That's the main word. Orthodoxy is the doctrines that never change. And we focus too much on the orthopraxy. Orthopraxy is the practice of those doxies. And practices change all the time. I mean, for heaven's sakes, look at our endowment. It's changed over 100 times since it was given to Joseph Smith.
That's true, it has.
Right? 3-4 times in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, it's even recently changed more times in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Like twice now. I'm only 25.
Right? So that's a practice. We can't say that these practices are what we believe in, because they're not. The practices change. The doctrines do not. So let us focus on the doctrines and the principles that are foundational, that are solid, instead of all of these wishy-washy ideas that change constantly.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So learn your doctrines too.
Yeah. Learn your doctrines
and what the principles are.
And like I said earlier, go to churchofjesuschrist.org, go to basic doctrines, get a list of those doctrines and learn them. Yes. Learn what you believe in.
It's about time. If you're baptized, I think it's about time to learn about your...
Learn about the doctrines you believe in.
Yes.
That you uphold to.
Well, thank you for listening to Gospel Theory. Next week, we're going to be discussing commandments and how that applies to doctrines, principles, and applications. And always reference this one. This is a really important one that we're always going to come back to. So keep this on your tabs or save this specific podcast, because if you don't understand the doctrines, the principles, and applications of the church, you're not going to understand a lot of what we talk about.
You'll be confused.
Yep.
I think, yeah. You'll be confused.
So always come back to this podcast if you need to. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks a lot.
This has been Gospel Theory, a Called to Learn audio podcast. For more podcasts like this, visit our website at calledtolearn.com/podcast.